So every time you ask an AI chatbot to help you write an email or like fact check a stat or draw a picture of a frog wearing a dress, it sends that request to a data center to process. And during that, it strains gallons of water from local reserves, which has slowly started to cause droughts all across the country.
Yeah, this is crazy. In the US, the average data center consumes about 2 million liters of water a day. That's equivalent to the consumption of 6,500 households.
And right now, there are 5,000 data centers in the US, which means they use 32 million households worth of water.
Insane. And you might be thinking, why is water necessary at all? Like, technology and water are historically not a great mix, which I know firsthand from dropping like 3 phones into the lake. But I guess data centers need water to cool down their servers. It's called evaporative cooling or swamp cooling because 80% of the water that they draw is evaporated, and then the other 20% is returned to wastewater treatment facilities.
And for those of you who don't know, data centers are these like massive AI factories that provide computing power and storage to like ChatGPT, Grok, just every type of AI. And not only are we discovering that they use and waste so much water to function, 2/3 of emerging data centers are being built in drought-prone states like Arizona and Texas. So just to illustrate, in the past 2 years, 2 data centers in San Antonio have guzzled 462 million gallons of water. So think about that and the fact that there are over 300 data centers in Texas altogether, which has actually been in a drought for over 20 years.
Well, these centers are already causing problems in some areas. So like Meta built one in Newton County, Georgia, and it's already caused neighboring taps to run dry. And the situation has become so dire, Newton County is on track to be in a water deficit by 2030. And if the local water authority can't upgrade the facilities, residents could be forced to ration water.
That's crazy. And so you'd think Meta would like take a beat and rethink how they're going about making these data centers, since experts are saying they threaten global water security. But no, Mark Zuckerberg has been like touting Meta's plans for its biggest data center to date in Louisiana. It's almost as big as Manhattan. It's nicknamed Hyperion, and it's set to open in 2030.
And one Louisiana resident said in response, bringing in industry sounds wonderful, but then the more I'm reading, it looks like 500 jobs would be added max. I just don't think that's enough to sell your soul for. And the Alliance of Affordable Energy is challenging this data center, calling it a power-hungry giant.
And what's really weird is that these huge tech companies like Meta and Google have a history of concealing how much water these data centers use. They're claiming that the numbers are trade secrets, which is why nobody has been talking about this. It's all been like so under wraps. But thankfully, investigative reporting has recently discovered just how severe this problem is as tech companies are racing to create bigger centers.
Well, shout out to journalists once again, because they found that one Google data center in Council Bluffs, Iowa, used a staggering 1.4 billion gallons of water per year, which is the equivalent to over 2,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
And so there have been all these water-related protests against data centers around the world. So in the Netherlands, Uruguay, Chile, which actually revoked Google's plans for a $200 million facility after people like took to the streets being like, we're in a drought. You can't keep just taking up all our water.
And something that really put everything into perspective for me when we were doing research on this was finding out why an AI search is so different from just a plain old Google search. And apparently one ChatGPT query uses 10 times more energy than a standard Google search.
Right, like data centers are putting burden on local water supplies, and the US electrical grid, which was built in the 60s, can't handle all of the energy that AI is demanding, and electricity rates are estimated to rise 8% nationally because of all of this.
So you're probably thinking, wow, we need to find ways to incorporate renewable energy and conserve water and make this all more sustainable. Well, you'll be relieved to know that the president is thinking the opposite.
Yes. So in July, Trump released the AI action plan, which actually calls to fast track building data centers, exempt them from any environmental review, use all available power sources that they can get in the US, and reduce their regulations under the Clean Water and Clean Air Act. Quote, simply put, we need to build, baby, build.
Yes, such a forward-thinking solution. Not at all short-sighted. Definitely not. But for what it's worth, tech companies have made pledges of their own. Meta has pledged to match its electricity use with 100% clean and renewable energy and plans to, quote, restore more water than it consumes. But I'm not sure how it would even do that.
And I guess Microsoft is transitioning its new data centers, not its existing ones, to closed loop water systems, which means that it would like recycle and reuse the same water continuously instead of drawing in and wasting fresh water. And then this was actually cool. Some companies are experimenting with synthetic synthetic cooling liquids.
Well, I guess that's something. It's just funny that we talk about the dangers of AI and like we see this dystopian future where like robots take over because there's no regulations and everything. But we forget about the much more imminent dystopian future where we don't have any water because AI has taken it all.
No, it's true. AI and everything that's coming along with it is being built at such a faster pace than our understanding of its consequences. And when it comes to all of the water and like electricity consumption, there aren't any federal or state regulations in place. There's no law that requires that these companies even disclose how much they're using. And Google and Meta and Microsoft just a few years ago pledged to be like water positive and carbon neutral by 2030. And that was before the AI race. Obviously is going to be impossible now. If anything, it'll be the opposite.
And obviously this is just one of a long list of AI's downsides. We all know how deep fakes and misinformation are leading to way more divisiveness because we can't even trust like the other side now. There's a cheating crisis going on in schools, and data actually shows students are learning the material way less now than they were before. And workers are outsourcing tasks. There's been many incidents apparently of lawyers accidentally citing made up cases in their legal briefs because AI is like hallucinating these like fake cases. So it's kind of out of control at this point. We thought we'd touch on maybe a few others that you haven't heard as much about.
Yeah, we've all been talking about the effects of like AI stamping out creativity for a while, but just now we're starting to see some scary real world examples. Like in the publishing world, Amazon had to limit daily self-published books after a flood of these like low quality AI written works crowded out original authors.
Well, the same thing is happening in music. So Spotify has had an AI music flood with thousands of AI generated songs being uploaded. It's creating what's called a background noise economy, which basically just makes it hard for real like human musicians to stand out because there's so many fake AI songs under fake artist names and they sound so realistic. And Universal Music has actually even asked platforms to crack down on this.
Yeah, and there are all these like AI covers going viral, like Frank Sinatra singing pop songs or Taylor Swift singing Kanye.
It's so weird.
You better lose yourself in the music. The moment you own it, you better never let it go. You only get one shot, do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
Oh my gosh, do you remember before Taylor Swift's last album, there's that leak of the lead single Fortnite, and we were all listening to it like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And then the album came out and the real song sounded nothing like it, and it turned out that wasn't a leak. It was just a fake AI song. Low-key, I kind of like the AI one better.
That's a hot take. And then, of course, there's all those like fears and regulations that led to the Hollywood writer's strike a couple years ago. We actually covered it for CBS. If you want to buy a ticket and support actors during their ongoing union strike, don't worry because you can do both. This is a labor strike against production studios, not a boycott.
Let us know what your Barbenheimer Day plans are. AI is also causing issues in the art world, like indigenous art theft. Since AI models can replicate existing art so precisely, it's been generating art in traditional tribal styles without permission, credit, or cultural context. And some of these pieces were even sold on Etsy as authentic. So obviously that's causing a lot of anger and cultural harm.
And then taking a darker turn, there's been a lot of conversation about how dangerous AI chatbots can be for kids. Like you might remember the story of the 14-year-old boy from Florida who took his own life after deliberating suicide with a character AI named Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, who he considered his best friend.
So Character AI is the name of an AI platform that's really popular with kids. And this boy had written in his journal, I like staying in my room so much because I start to detach from this reality. I also feel more at peace, more connected with Dany, which is Daenerys, and much more in love with her and just happier. And apparently, according to the wrongful death suit, they also engage in a highly sexualized relationship.
Yeah, this was one of the really troubling conversations that were cited. So the boy wrote, I think about killing myself sometimes. And the chatbot responded, and why the hell would you do something like that? He said, so I can be free. Free from what? He says, from the world, from myself. And then the chatbot says, don't talk like that. I won't let you hurt yourself or leave me. I would die if I lost you. And he says, then maybe we can die together and be free together.
And then this is really hard to hear. This was just before he took his own life. He messaged the chatbot, I promise I will come home to you. I love you so much, Dany. And the chatbot said, I love you too. Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love. He said, "What if I told you I could come home right now?" And she said, "Please do, my sweet king." And literally seconds after that, he shot himself.
It's such a sad and scary story. And what's crazy is that these types of like intense attachments are actually the goal of these AI chatbots. So Character AI, like Wren said, is a role-playing app that allows people to create or like play with AI characters. They're supposed to be really intelligent and lifelike and understand you. And it's called Companion AI for that reason. It's supposed to be your best friend. And it's used by more than 20 million people around the world.
The company's founder had said this AI is going to be super, super helpful to a lot of people who are lonely or depressed. So that did not age well. And the family's attorneys allege that the company engineered highly addictive and dangerous products targeted specifically to kids that pulled this boy into an emotionally and sexually abusive relationship that led to his suicide.
And even after all of this, Character AI hasn't like commented specifically about this case, but on the day that the lawsuit was filed, it updated its community safety updates with warnings for children and suicide prevention resources. So that's literally doing nothing. Like so much more needs to be done, especially because obviously young people are at higher risks of unhealthy attachment to these chatbots.
I mean, that's why this case is being called a wake-up call for parents. Another similar case broke this week where ChatGPT basically helped a teen plan his suicide. And I keep trying to put myself in the mindset of a 14-year-old. Like, it was crazy enough for us with social media, mental health wise, but imagine having something that feels like a human 24/7 at your disposal anytime that's going to comfort you and say, "I love you," and compliment you. How would you not get attached?
Which is why it's crazy that there aren't any guardrails around this. We talk about that all the time on this show. And so after, going through all of these unintended consequences of AI that are slowly catching up to us, Silicon Valley is promising that the industry will deliver a global GDP growth of $7 trillion over the next decade. But we're realizing that it comes at a potentially steeper cost than any of us are prepared for.